Welcome to Linux for the Rest of Us, episode number 44. The show where we talk about Linux and everything about Linux. Distributions, news, games. We always like to throw some games in there, thanks to Dor. Likes to spice it up like that. And if you're a noob, intermediate, expert, I think you'll like this show. We try to cover it all and keep it interesting, keep it fun. So that's what we're going to do today. Last week, Doc Brown introduced the show, and he will continue to do that. And he's with us, actually, still. And so is Dor. They're on the call. But I wanted to introduce the show today for a special reason. Two reasons, actually. But first, let me introduce the guys, and then we'll talk. We'll get into some talks here. Okay. First off, I'm going to save Dor because he's the maven. First off, Larry Aldridge, a.k.a. Doc Brown, is with us, and he's going to run the show today. What's going on, Doc?
It has been a wonderful day in Docland. My business is picking up. I've got a couple of machines here on the bench that I was really hoping to get knocked out today, but they'll be done tomorrow, so it's all well and good. Health-wise, I haven't felt this good in quite a while, so it's been a really good day. That's
super awesome, man. You look great, by the way.
Well, thank you.
I must say, from one man to another.
Boy, am I holding my tongue right now.
Okay.
From one man to another.
Before Doc says anything he regrets, let's go over to Dor. Dor's the birthday boy today, man. If anybody didn't know it's Dor's birthday, somebody sent a voicemail in saying it was Dor's birthday. Otherwise, I would have had no idea. And I didn't believe the voicemail because I looked on the forums and Dor's birthday was not advertised, which means to me that he's has some incognito forum details. Anyway, the Dor is the Linux maven. Dor, happy birthday and thanks for coming on today.
Thanks, Steve. By the way, I already went in and fixed it in the forums.
What was it?
It wasn't entered.
Oh.
I don't know. I thought it said it last year, but I guess I don't know. I think Timster hacked my account.
Yeah, he must have hacked mine too. Cause I didn't get any birthday wishes this year, and I won't even tell you when my birthday is. The forums should have told everyone.
Well, you know,
it doesn't.
Maltigo can probably tell me.
Yeah, I don't think it sends out emails saying birthdays. What will help you? What will tell you?
Maltigo.
Do I know what that is?
You don't want to know it. It's very scary software.
Okay. All right, well, the reason I wanted to start off the show today is because I have two announcements. Number one is we are doing a Podnutz weekend webinar, How to Podcast. If you want to learn how to podcast and do what we do here at Podnutz, I'm telling all, in video, live with a seminar on the web. It's called a webinar. I kind of hate saying that because I think it's cheesy, but that's really what it is, so it's a webinar. It's going to be $50, and I'll tell you why it costs money, because it's going to be exhaustive. We're going to be basically take a weekend in June. I think it's the 25th and 26th. It might be the 28th and 29th. Let me pull up dashboard. 25th and 26th of June, starting at 10 a.m. on Saturday, 10 a.m. Saturday, ends on 5 p.m. Saturday. Then the next day, 10 a.m. Sunday to 5 p.m. Sunday. We're going to do like 12 hours of... That needed a mute button. We're going to do like 12 hours of podcasting knowledge for you guys. So you come live, you watch live, you can ask questions after after we do a couple of lessons. You can ask questions. It's going to be live Q&A. It's going to cover everything from how to start your show, how to broadcast your show, how to get guests for your show, how to record audio, equipment, mixers, everything. Everything. Sponsors, advertising, video, live shows, everything you see with how to get a website up, feeds, iTunes, everything you see on Podnutz, that's what we're going to go over. So, Dog needs to learn how to use the mute button. I'm going to edit that out. So, join us on the 25th and 26th. If you want more information about how to since we're editing it, we're going to start that over. If you want to get more information about this, go to howtopodcast.biz. Right now, it's just a simple form for your name and email address. Put your name and email address in there. As soon as I get more information and the sign-up details and the order form and all that jazz, I will email you the information. So just go over there and sign up if you're interested. It'll give me an idea how many people are coming. It's going to be so much fun. You guys have to come if you want to learn how to podcast. So that's announcement number one. Number two is there's been some changes in the Podnutz network as far as, me not hosting some of the shows. And I want to just put something out there for you guys. First of all, I appreciate wholeheartedly all the support through the years everybody has given to me and the network. It's so appreciated. I told you this on the Podnutz 300th episode. It's amazing. I'm completely overwhelmed. I love that you guys are getting something out of these shows. That being said, we've done a lot of shows in those years, and I just kept piling on the episodes and episodes and episodes. And frankly, I need to take a little break and take a step back and kind of wear the Podnutz CEO hat for a while, because right now, all I'm into is production. You say, we don't have many sponsors. Well, I'm doing shows too much of the time. I don't have a time to wear my marketing hat. You want Podnutz t-shirts and hats. Well, I need to wear that hat too and get that store set up, like a Podnutz store set up. I want to do more projects like the How to Podcast videos. We're working on a Linux set of videos with Door. So I want to take some time and do some projects. I need to take a step back from actually doing the shows and hosting the shows. And thank God you got guys like Doc and Door, Lalo, Timster, Matt Rainey's going to be helping out, stepping in and hosting these shows. Nothing that's going on right now is written in stone. If these guys do a great job, which they're currently doing, and I know they're going to continue to do, maybe they'll stay on as the host. We don't know. It's nothing's written in stone is what I'm trying to say. I'm interested in your feedback, though. If you're something you like or don't like, send an email to me. I will read it. I read all my emails. I try to. Send it to mail@podnutz.com. But I sincerely think that these guys are doing a great job, and they are helping me out immensely by doing this. So I hope you continue to enjoy the shows. And no matter which way they are going to be presented, the content is still going to be there. So that's why I think and hope you guys were tuning in to begin with. We're going to keep it that way. So like I said, that being said, these guys are helping with the help flow that like you wouldn't believe. So again, I appreciate Doc, Timster, Lalo, Matt, Door, and everybody who's helping me out with this. That's what's going on. I never really gave you guys the reality factor of what's going on here. That's what's going on. I just wanted to jump in and make that announcement. All right, now that I took up almost 10 minutes of this show and didn't mention Linux once, I'm going to turn it over to the guys here and let them fill you with the Linux goodness for this week. Doc, take it away.
Hey, thanks, Steve. And I hope people take what you said to heart. You've done a wonderful job of creating a community that so many people are happy to be a part of. And I guess when you have a tight-knit community and something changes, it's kind of hard to deal with. But it's actually going to get, I won't say it's going to get better, but it will be as good as it has been with Steve C. at the wheel. I
want it to get better. It ain't going to get any worse. So don't anybody worry. We're going to keep.
Well, this is only my second show, Steve. I mean,
Yeah, Doc. I really do appreciate what you and Dora are doing here. So yeah, no problem. I'm psyched. I'm psyched about it.
Glad I've had the opportunity to do it.
Yes.
So Steve, door to door. We got two Steves here, Steve C. and Steve MG.
He's a door.
He's a door. That's right. He makes a better door than a window. Not only is it your birthday today, but I understand you've been sticking your toes in the sand and the seawater. You were on vacation last week, weren't you?
Yes, and it was a little bit too cold. I had to prove that to my son, though. He did not believe me, so he had to literally walk down to the water. I had to he took his shoe off, took his sock off, and I told him, go ahead and put your foot in that water. At first, he was really scared because it's coming back. It's coming towards him. It's going back. And then he finally got close enough, and he put his foot in the water. Oh, it's cold!
Really? How cold was it?
It was way too cold. Yet there were still, of course, random surfers out there trying to surf Maryland Ocean City waves, which I kind of feel like is playing basketball on a 5-foot basket. It's like, why?
Yeah, you gotta give them some credit, dude. That sucks.
At least they're doing it.
That sucks that it was cold, man. It's like a vacation. The kids want to go swim in the bacteria-infested beaches, and they can't do that if the water's freezing.
Well, they had plenty of fun because right off the boardwalk, right on where the sand started, they had wooden things built, donated by local businesses right on the boardwalk, and they were like two-story castles with slides, a pirate ship with a hole, like a tunnel through it kind of thing with a slide on the top. The kids had more than enough fun doing that. It's the typical kid thing. You buy them a $500 toy, you open the box, and they want to play with the box. You know, they were very happy and satisfied with that.
Well, we're glad you made it back safe, because we missed getting the Linux goodness last week, and you need to bring it on. So what have you got for us this week?
There's too much, Doc. I'm going to tell you that right now. There is too much stuff happening too frequently. And I'll just say, this show could end at any time. I could have, you know, a friendly 80-year-old woman ask me to be her gigolo. It could happen.
What the hell are you talking about?
I don't know.
Sorry, Doc. I had to throw that in there.
Okay. First off, we're still in the reboot stage of the show. Okay. One of the basic things I want to talk about, and was because we went into a little bit of detail last week about why you need an application to install an application. And it's really hard. I tried to answer as best I could, but it's really hard to answer that question. The only way I can really sum it up quickly is just to say, having the application install a different application means it's a manageable interface. It's always the same interface. So in some ways, once you become comfortable with that interface, installing anything is simple and easy. But it does take a learning curve for new users to any computer-based system with a repository. This is a completely new thought process. So I understand it's not something you just jump into and understand.
Well, it's more like a paradigm shift than it is a learning curve, isn't it? I mean, it's just another way of doing things.
It kind of is. I mean, the way I think about it is how things that are old come back around again. I remember years ago, I used to always go to download.com. And that was where I got everything I needed, was at download.com. Instead now of going to a website to get my download, I'm opening up an application. The same kind of things are happening. It's just the interface is slightly different. That's the way I look at it now, understanding what a repo is and the package management system is. What I wanted to go over was Ubuntu Software Center, which is an application on Ubuntu, Linux, Mint, and a couple other distributions. Synaptic Package Manager, which is an application on Ubuntu and on Ubuntu-based distributions and Debian-based systems. apt-get, which is a command line tool on Debian-based systems, and aptitude, which is a command line tool on Debian-based systems. The almost ironic thing is the base of Linux is choice. Choice, choice, choice. Linux as a whole never ever wants to limit you in any shape, way, or form to one path to travel to do something, because that path to you might be too long, might be too hard, might have steps in there you don't want, might not work fast enough on your computer. So there's always different options on how to do things. The best kind of way I can explain the differences between, I'm going to put these in two groups. There's the GUI groups and the command line groups. Ubuntu Software Center and Synaptic is a GUI group. apt-get and aptitude are command line tools. The GUI tools are like standing at the top of the Empire State Building and looking down on the street. You can see everything, but you can't really tell the finer point details with it. Mm-hmm. The command line tools are literally like standing on the street looking down. You can see every crack, every crevice, every ant crawling. You really do have much, much, much more fine-grained control. The example I use is uninstalling an application. In the Ubuntu Software Center, which is the most polished, user-friendly, noob-friendly interface to install applications, you really only have one obvious choice to uninstall, and that's just to uninstall. That's it. When you're in Synaptic Package Manager, which is a much less glossy, much more detailed interface, much more choice in the interface, so it's not as user-friendly, but it's a lot more powerful, you can uninstall, completely remove And those are your two options. And completely remove is actually what's called a purge. And then if you go to the command line, you can do remove, auto remove, or purge. You have three choices. Uninstall is just you take just the core application that's selected, yank it out. Purge, yank out the application and yank out other dependencies that are no longer needed. So if I install Firefox and it needs Flash, and I say purge Firefox, and nothing else needs Flash, it will also get rid of Flash if I say purge. Ubuntu Software Center, you say uninstall Firefox, Flash will stay behind. And then the third option also removes configuration files. So if you just uninstall Firefox, reinstall Firefox, when you launch Firefox, you're going to have your history, your saved passwords, your open tabs you had on your last entry, all that kind of stuff. Where if you do the purge, it will actually remove configuration files. I'm 99% sure that's purge and not auto remove. I'm pretty sure it's purge. Will actually get rid of all your configuration files. So when you reinstall it, it's like a true first install.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So it goes from simplicity and functionality. I used to say a lot, security and convenience are on opposite sides of an unbendable pole. The two shall never meet. Simplicity and ease of use, customizability, and complexity, that's another pole that's unbendable. You cannot have something that is simple and complex. You cannot have something that is easy and very customizable. Doesn't happen. Can't happen. With choice and complexity makes things more difficult to use for people to learn. I highly encourage almost every new user to use Ubuntu Software Center as your main gateway to install and remove applications because it's so easy to use.
And that is the Ubuntu Software Center, you said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in previous versions, it used to be called add remove programs. It was kind of confusing to a lot of people because they were used to Windows add remove programs where you really couldn't add programs. You could just remove them. There was an add button back in the day. It would scan your CD drive to see if there was a setup.exe, but you cannot add from add remove. So when new users saw add remove, they thought that's where I go to get rid of stuff, not where I go to add stuff. So they changed it to Ubuntu Software Center. Very user-friendly, very easy. Now, the one thing is in Ubuntu 11.04, which I still encourage people not to use unless you like bleeding edge. If you go to that application menu and you start typing an application and it's not installed on your system, below the fold kind of thing of the line, there will list applications in Ubuntu Software Center that you can install right from there. You click it and it will automatically launch Ubuntu Software Center, take you to that app with the install button right there. Which is another reason why I say to use that application, because it's linked in more heavily with the rest of the operating system.
Okay.
With Synaptic, well, and here's the other thing. With Ubuntu Software Center, if you want to install Firefox, Java, we're going to use Java, you would simply type in Java, and it would be under an entry named Java. That's not the actual name, though. That's like saying, I want to install Firefox when it's actually, Firefox 4.2. If you go to Synaptic Package Manager, you see real names, where if you want Java, it will actually be sun-java bin 6, I think. Because that's the newest version, and it's by Sun, and that's what the proper, true name of that is. On the command line, it's just so much easier, especially if you know what you want. If you know what you're going to install, and if you can use the command line, and it will go so much quicker to install anything. And I always want people to dabble with the command line, try the command line. But for the newest of new users, stick with Ubuntu Software Center. Think of it anytime you think of you want anything on your computer or taken off your computer. That's the go-to spot. Windows 8 is going to have this, the newest Snow Leopard something. has an app store in it. So it's going to become the norm. People won't get really comfortable with it, my guess is, until like 2013. Then people will start the masses will become very comfortable with it. And then when a new user sees this in Linux, they're going to think, oh, just like in Windows.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Okay.
And I like what you said on our last show, that a lot of things that are showing up in the quote mainstream unquote OSs like Windows or Mac, or things that have been done for quite a while under Linux. So yeah, people will get used to it.
Yeah, and to be honest, everything steals from everything anyway. You know what I mean? No one place is the originator of everything. Everything is stolen and borrowed from everybody else. It's just the way it is, which is why I hate software patent laws, but that's a different story. Really quick, I just wanted to jump on a hot topic. And the only reason I'm jumping on this hot topic, you'll see. Apple, Mac, malware. And for you audio listeners, big air quotes are being flexed right now by both hands. Malware. From everything I read, from everyone I know who's at all technical savvy, tells me this is not malware. Please stop calling it malware. It's not even ransomware. It's ransom-likeware. Okay? What it actually is nothing more than an executable file that Safari very incompetently by default says any file of this type is allowed automatic execution. Originally, it was a Google image exploit. You would hover over top the wrong image. JavaScript would be enabled. This safe file that Apple says is safe will automatically download and launch, and it's called Mac Defender. Okay. To get rid of this, you simply close it, browse to it, and delete it. As any Windows technician knows, that's not how malware works. You never just, close and go delete. Malware always implies there's some kind of infection that actually digs into the operating system and binds itself to some processes, files, protocols, procedures, or anything like that. This is not like that. Even if you click the button, give it your master password, it will install and ask you for a credit card number. So it's installed. It still, to me, is not malware. Very easy to get rid of. Now, I'll say... Can I
chime in here? Sorry, Doc. I have to. Mm-hmm. I think that is malware, Door. If something gets installed on my machine without my permission...
No, it is. You type your password in.
Oh, you type your password in?
Yeah.
Okay, my bad. Continue.
Yeah. Well, and now what I'll say the justification thing is, to the average Mac user, yes, this is malware. It is just as bad as malware. It is horrible because they can't comprehend what it is, and it's just all confusing to them. The whole reason I got this computer was so I didn't have to mess with this malware, So to them, I feel for them. Yes, to them, I understand describing it to them as malware. But when you speak to other technicians and people of a knowledgeable crowd, this really isn't. This is like saying weather bug itself is malware. No, it's not. You clicked it, and you can go uninstall it very easily. That's all this is. Now, the reason I'm talking about it is supposedly Leo Laporte, some people love him, some people hate him. I still listen to him because once in a while he says something absurdly clear that I kind of put weight in. For example, on Windows, orb.com, fantastic tool to stream anything you want from your home to anything. Go look at it later. But what he said was the reason why this is happening is 85+% of Windows computers in the US are running some type of proper anti-malware, antivirus application, and it is up to date. Because of that, the number of unpatched, unprotected Windows system, hear me again, the number of unpatched Windows system and unguarded Windows system is a close number now to the number of total Mac computers. Yes, Windows is 95% of the market, whatever, I don't care. Unpatched wise versus total Mac wise is now a similar-esque number, which makes it on par for number of hits of infections, of successful infections, quote unquote. That kind of makes sense to me. Whether or not it's true or not, it makes sense to me. And the other reason I'm mentioning it is supposedly you can go buy this tool for $1,000, go make your own ransomware. A Linux version is supposed to be coming out here within a couple months, they said. My logic is if you're on a web page, something pops up, and then your trusted screen comes up asking you for your administrative password, and you type your administrative password in, you kind of deserve it. Maybe that's wrong of me to say, but you kind of deserve it. Anyone running any computer system should understand the basic of when that administrator window pops up and the screen goes dim and it asks for your administrative password, there's about to be some kind of significant change to your computer. If you did not knowingly, directly initiate something that you had an idea was going to do this, you need to press cancel. And just press cancel. And the only plus I'd say to a Linux user getting infected versus a Mac user getting infected is a Linux user at least should be mildly comfortable with installing his operating system. So for them to reinstall, because that's always the easiest way to get rid of anything. So for them to reinstall, at least I feel they're more capable of doing it, which makes me even care less if a Linux user actually does get infected. Now, with that said, people keep saying Linux is going to get attacked. Linux is going to get attacked. Linux is going to get attacked. And then they show me.
Hang on, Door.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm trying to get your attention. Yeah, it's like the rogue fake antivirus pop-ups that come up on your grandmother's computer. And she says, "Oh, I've got a virus and this program is going to fix it." And she clicks on it and she gets infected even more.
Can you hear Doc?
Hang on, Doc. Apparently Door can't hear you, and I'm not sure why. Give me one sec.
Okay, can you hear me okay, Steve?
Yeah. Yep. Door, can you hear me?
Yeah.
And you can't hear Doc?
No.
Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
He just came back?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think my cat stepped on M, which stands for mute. Sorry about that. Everything got recorded. I said Door just couldn't hear you, that's all.
I'm sorry, Doc. Did I step on you?
No.
Multiple times?
No. Actually, you didn't. But, Doc, take it away from where you stopped, Door, and then just repeat that if you can. And ready, go ahead.
Well, Door, what you said is very true, but it puts me in mind of the fake rogue antivirus programs that will pop up on your grandmother's monitor telling her that she has a virus. And she said, "Oh, I've got a virus, so I'm going to follow this instruction and I'm going to click on it." Now, the reason I think that what you just described is similar to this is that it all boils down to a matter of education. How much does that person know? And that's where we, as the more experienced technical members of the family, might want to take the lead and step up and try to explain to Grandma or Aunt Emily or whoever that there is a danger in blindly doing everything that your computer tells you to do. I mean, it's not going to set the house on fire, but truly at the worst, your machine is going to get really, truly super infected, or you are getting ready to lose, $59, $69, $109, $200 by clicking on something and agreeing to it and then putting in your credit card number. So I appreciate the time that you took to explain it, but as you were doing it, I'm thinking, well, it's really a matter of how much they know and how much they are willing to learn. Well, and go ahead.
I would say on Linux, foreseeably, if it's like what's happening on Mac, there is no risk of infection because you're not getting infected. There is no infection. the worst that's going to happen is they're going to get your credit card number out of you. And possibly you'll install with that a keylogger or something like that. There is always going to be a risk of a user not doing what's right. What I'll say is, one thing I don't understand is how people have different expectations when they're sitting at a computer versus going out in the real world. For instance, I use is like IRC. If I go into an IRC room and I say, hello all, and somebody opens their mouth and says, you're stupid, you're a jerk, and they get mad and they say, IRC sucks, they're filled with a bunch of people who are mean. But if I go out my front door and I wave to somebody and say hi, and they say, screw you, screw off, I don't go back in my house and say, everybody out in the world is mean. Same thing with the computer. I don't understand why people just, oh, well, it told me to do it, so I'm going to do it. It's like if somebody walks up to you on the street and says, punch yourself in your mouth. These people act like they would do it. But on a computer, it's like they have a little bit too much blind faith. And my mother-in-law told me tonight, she's older, I'll say that. She even said, I get all these requests from LinkedIn from people I never heard of who want to be my friends. I get all these emails from these people. And she's like, everybody on the internet who has any communication with me that I did not directly ask for, they're trying to scam me, get money out of me, or infect me. And I'm just like, I love you, Mom. You know, she just gets it. You know, it's just like anywhere else. Everything you watch on TV for every product, head on, apply directly to the head. Head on, apply directly to the head. Head on, apply directly to the head. It's just somebody trying to get your money. Same thing on a computer. And the funny thing about the Mac thing is supposedly people out there up to 5 times pulled out a credit card, typed it in, and it said, oh, sorry, the credit card didn't work. Try again. Well, honey, let me see the other credit card. And they kept typing in other credit cards. I think it's, I'm trying to think of the word. It's like gullible. I don't understand why people are so gullible when they're sitting in front of their computer. It's like they have blind trust and faith. Education is the key. Some people, just like everything else, you're not going to be able to educate no matter what. For them, I think get them a Chromebook, you know, because they're not going to get it.
Well, it's not just a matter of education, Dor. It's also the fact that, well, let's look at it this way. People's personality change when they're behind the wheel of a car. I mean, it is an indisputable fact. And the same thing happens when people are sitting in their chair and they're behind their keyboard and they've got their hand on the mouse. They're going to do and make decisions that they probably wouldn't in real life. So all I can say is that we've spent about maybe 10 minutes talking about a Mac malware that's not really a piece of malware. So,
well,
go ahead.
I don't think it is. If I'm wrong and someone has a technical write-up explaining how it is malware, please send me an email, because everything I read says it's not really malware. But yeah, that's a good description of the guy in the car. So I guess then we just got to take for granted computer techs will always be cleaning some type of infection off of something.
And I say, thank goodness for that.
Right. But honestly, that's a good segue, Doc, because I said they should get a Chromebook. Really quick, I want to talk about the Chromebook. If you listen to someone talking about a Chromebook and they don't have a Chromebook, maybe you shouldn't believe everything they say. I'm gonna start
like I thought it would be Chrome. It's black.
It's black. There you go. A lot of people I've heard in the last week, because of Google I/O, have been making lots of comments about Google Chromebooks, and they have no idea what they're talking about. Not a clue. And it's not hard to read up. They have a very simple web page with all the basic features and stuff about Chromebooks, and anyone can go read it. Not everything is controlled by Google. Yes, you need some kind of Google account, or you can actually log in with a thing called guest mode and not log into Google. You can use Yahoo Mail, you can use Hotmail, you can use Zimmer Office, you can use Windows Office on the web. You don't have to use a single Google service. So please don't say the goal of this is for Google to steal all your information. That makes you sound foolish. It's not about Google stealing information. They want to show you ads. There ain't no ads in Google Docs, okay? So they don't care if you use Google Docs. Number one. Number two. The basic apparatus on this system, by design, makes it nearly, and I'm going to use the word nearly because nothing's 100%, uninfectable. How so? Well, it uses magic. No, okay, it doesn't use magic. What it does, and it states it's very clear on the main website, is at every boot time, okay, because there is no local cache, local data on the computer itself. It's on the cloud. At boot time, it has a security process it goes through. When it's clearly marked with the Google logo kind of thing on it, that means it meets all the hardware standards and it has this on there. When at boot time, it basically during the boot process, in the BIOS type process, it does a hash of key system files and folders. It takes the hash, the computated hash, which is very hard to duplicate because it's a hash. You don't know that, look up a hash. And then it compares it versus a read-only chip on the motherboard. If those hashes do not match, i.e. you're infected, it will overwrite the key files and folders with read-only copies of them. I.e., if there is some kind of exploit and you do get hacked, cracked, pwned, owned, whatever, you reboot the computer and it should be gone. Nothing's 100%. This is not going to be close to as infectable as any other system. As Windows, as Mac, or as Ubuntu or Linux. Because I believe when you have a read-write based system, there's always a way to find an exploit, write to a file, recreate a file, execute a file. That's what the computer is supposed to do. A Chromebook has built-in protection at boot time to help ensure against that. Imagine if every time you booted your Windows computer, it did that. It went to a read-only piece of the ROM chip, check those files, and if they weren't right, it would overwrite them. We would see a lot less malicious, dangerous, hard-embedded infections. So it's not that this thing's going to get infected that easily, because it's not. So exploits on Chrome, for instance, are not very popular at all, partially because they pay money to find exploits. Number one, that's always a plus. People want to do it. The last thing I wanted to mention about the Chromebook is, yes, you buy the thing for $300, $500, whatever, which I think is too much money. You're going to get 100 megabytes of 3G service for free a month. And I can say without a shadow of a doubt, that is quite pointless. It's like giving somebody one bite of a steak. It ain't going to satisfy nobody. On college campuses, it makes sense because they always have college Wi-Fi. It makes sense. And who better to get hooked on using technologies except for people who are going to any day now hopefully graduate and get a job and buy their own stuff. You know? So don't believe all the hype people are saying about a Chromebook. If they do talk about a Chromebook, the first thing you should email that person and ask is, do you have a Chromebook? Do you have a CR48? You know, and then when they say no back, how are you getting your facts? And they'll say, oh, I'm reading this guy's blog. He said it. You know, talk to somebody who has one, okay? I personally hate the device. I think it's useless because I'm a tech. I want power. I want to be able to install stuff. I want to be able to run stuff locally. I want to do more stuff than the normal person. So to me, it's a trinket. Now to the guy next door who's really wants to keep up on every bit of the macho man death and wants to tell everybody on Facebook about it, this device is perfect. You know, or they want to Google Talk with their friend in France. with the built-in video camera, it's a perfect device. You know, don't sell it short. There is a market for this type of device. There is. A tablet can't do everything. You know, it can't. People like doing word creation, blog creation, and stuff like that, where it's much comfortable with the keyboard. You know, so I just wanted to spout off about the Chromebook real quick.
One thing that I think we ought to keep in mind, though, is that we're used to using air-powered impact wrenches, and these folks are still using a pair of pliers to loosen nuts. You know, so while we're used to something powerful and built for the specific job that we want to do, to somebody, a Chromebook is going to be an epiphany about the wonders of modern technology. So, you know, there's a place for everything. Just because, you know, we don't think it's powerful enough, or it comes with too many perceived shortcomings or traps, it can still be a wonderful tool for somebody else.
Right. Yeah. The analogy I heard someone at work say today was, if I invite a professional cook over to my house, he's going to throw all my pots and pans and stuff away because they're not good enough for him. They serve me perfectly well. You know, who's he to say my stuff isn't good enough for me? And that's what this is kind of like. Don't believe the tech enthusiast guys saying this thing's a piece of crap and nobody's going to want it, because they don't think like those people, you know? Yeah, so I just wanted to spout off about that. I'm done.
Hey, could we talk about Linux now?
Yes. And the first thing, well, Chromebook technically is Linux, but, you know, super quick. Chrome rocks. The browser rocks. Netflix is coming to Linux via a Chrome plugin. That's the holy grail of, you know, spousal approval on my computer. Now I can give my wife my Linux computer where she's not going to get infected. She could get some ransom likeware, and she can watch Netflix on it. And I ain't got to worry about a Facebook pop-up causing an exploit in a browser that's going to take her to a page and redirect her and use some kind of kernel level exploit for escalated authority and install a rootkit. She can watch Netflix. That's cool. Okay. I don't know when that's coming, but people say it's coming. The one thing I'm talking about real quick, June 10th, 11th, and 12th, Spartansburg, South Carolina, Southeast Linux Fest. I really wish this was like late September, because then I think I could go, but I can't go. It's very soon coming up. This is honestly one of the best fest out there. The guys behind it are doing all kinds of just speaker talks where you just, you know, listen to people talk about their experiences and how they do things with applications, servers, desktop operating systems, and stuff like that. But they also have stuff like LPI certification, which I believe is Linux proficiency something, and BSDA, which is the Berkeley Systems Distribution something, BSD certification as well. That's cool. You can get certified on these operating systems to get a job working with them. They're also going to have like Drupal camps where you can learn how to, you know, use Drupal to create your website the way you want to use it. A lot of cool talks, completely free. You can walk in, take advantage of everything there without paying a dime. With that said, there is a package, a supporter package you can buy for, I think, $60. What you're really doing is helping to say, I want to come here next year. Please, can I have another Linux Fest? You get like free drink passes. You can get like 2 beers and something to eat, I think. So it isn't like you get nothing back. You do get, I believe, a t-shirt, stickers, 2 beer tokens, and like a food token where you can get something to eat. I highly encourage anyone who thinks they want to go next year to it, to who is going there this year, pay that supporter package, or else you're not sure there's going to be one next year. Okay.
Do you have a link for that you can post?
Yes, sir. southeastlinuxfest.org. And to me, to be honest, the easiest way to keep up with this is, of course, by going to the website. But I gotta say, there's more than a couple Linux podcasts where they're going to go there and they're going to set up a booth. So there are many Linux podcasts you can subscribe to and listen to that will basically tell you what their plans are when they go there, what they want to check out when they go there, and what they're going to do when they go there. The one common thread I'll say I've heard from everybody who's mentioned it is Linux geeks make great partiers. So if you like to have a good time and talk about computers, even if you're not into Linux, and if you're a computer geek and you like to party, you'll have a great time.
Well, you know what the one of the earliest mottos of the open source movement was, don't you? It's free as in free beer.
Free as in beer.
Yep.
And I still don't really get that, how that equates to software. But I digress. The one thing I want to talk about, Doc, we had an email last week from a guy who was basically educating me and us on VI, Vim, text editors kind of thing. And I'm not really a hardcore text editor kind of guy. I open one, I use it, I close it. You know, I don't sit in it for hours and do things and pound out that kind of code. I believe you forwarded me this link to make use of, and it's top 7 reasons to give the Vim text editor a chance. I gotta say, this is a very good article. Very clearly and with screenshots tells you some of the benefits you gain from using your normal, standard, basic, non-powerful, non-dynamic text editor. It's the kind of thing, if you don't lean over your neighbor's fence, you have no idea how much greener his grass is. If you're using Notepad and you think it's perfectly fine, if you come here and read this article, you're going to be upset because your text editor, your basic text editor can't do any of these kind of things.
So what a lot of folks need to understand, if they don't understand it already, is Vim and the various permutations of it is roughly comparable to the edit feature in MS-DOS, which back in the day, you had to know how to use edit if you wanted to write batch files or dress up your auto-exec bat file or edit a config sys file. You had to use the edit. There was nothing else around. And Vim does what edit used to do, but more. Yeah. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
Right. Edit was essential if you wanted to do anything truly productive. If you just wanted to play solitaire and Minesweeper, you didn't need to know it. But if you want to do anything productive back in the day kind of thing, you needed to know how to use that. 2 of the things I thought I didn't think of or realize, Vim works over Telnet or SSH connections. That's cool. You can Telnet into another computer that has Vim installed, and you can run it on that system and use it on your screen. That's pretty cool. So you don't have to worry about your configuration file. It's all over there. The other thing is it's configured, its configuration is portable, which means if you get the look, the layout, the defaults the way you like it to, it's very easy to copy the configuration anywhere you want, and you have it all over again. No extra legwork done. The one thing I'll say, I don't like most top whatever list, because there's always seems like there's 1 or 2 that's just filler, just pack it in. Number 7, I will say I personally do not agree with. I do not pick a side in this because I will have half of the people hate me. Emacs or Vim, Vim or Emacs, Emacs or Vim. They're both great, okay? Number 7, it says it's way better than Emacs. I'll say that's an opinion. That's not a fact. By make use of, if you're upset, go to makeuseof.com, contact, and let them know you don't like them saying that. But I thought that was a really good, clearly written, clearly documented link that you set there, Doc. Next one to talked about going down to Southeast Linux Fest, seeing Dave Yates, Chad Wallenberg, seeing those guys, have a good time. You can go down there and get certified. Certified for what, Dor? Oh, there's a new website. linuxconfig.org has an article written. linuxcareer.com. I believe it just launched. jobs.linuxcareer.com. If you like working in Linux so much that you want to actually work in it and get paid for it, there's now a central hub, central portal where you can go and look for jobs. Now it just launched, okay? The first couple days after eBay launched, they didn't have millions of things up for sale. Maybe they did. But this does not have millions of jobs yet. For instance, Canada, there's 5 jobs posted. United States, 150 jobs posted. That's 3 a state. So I got like a 20% chance of it being close-ish to me. But this is still very, very, very new. This will only grow, get bigger, get better. I mentioned a couple weeks ago, Doc, a lot of the experts and the like companies that all they do is forecast, the markets and the businesses and this and that in the future, they said there's going to be a Linux admin shortage in about a year to 2 years, which means this kind of site will become more vital, more needed, more used. You can go to these kind of Linux Fest, pay a small fee, to get certified, to learn and get certified. And then you can actually find a career doing it, where if you don't like dealing with Windows servers or you don't like dealing with Windows desktops, there is an alternative. Granted, it's not super popular right now, but it is out there. So just because it's not the majority does not mean it does not exist. So I think this is really cool. Hope it gets bigger. Hope it gets better. Hope it just gets more traffic, more credible jobs, because I might be looking there.
Dora, last time we got together, we spent some time talking about Unity and how there's some question about whether it's really ready for prime time, I think was the example I made. But I've taken a look at it since we last got together. And I said earlier about a paradigm shift. I think Unity is going to require a paradigm shift for the users who are used to doing something the old way. Now they're presented with a new way. Well, look, that's fine. We're techs. We are adaptable. So I want to ask you, do you have any Unity news or Unity items for us this week?
I tell you, Doc, the whole 2 weeks, everything I read was like Unity now featuring Unity plus Unity sided by Unity. Everything was Unity. I really got sick of it. I got tired of it. I got disgusted by it. But I did find some very good things out. Okay. The first thing I couldn't believe, and this literally just hit today. So technically, I think I'm the first live podcast to mention this. So neener. Unity is going to be available on OpenSUSE very shortly. One of the head maintainers today mentioned an OS static. OStatic.com has an article called Unity Coming to OpenSUSE After All. Now, it's not coming as the default, but they did say very soon it's going to be installable, okay?
As a plug-in type thing?
Well, as an installable component, basically. Everything in Linux is customizable, configurable, and replaceable. Like in Windows, you can replace Notepad with Notepad++. In Linux, you can install Ubuntu and replace the Unity with GNOME or KDE or XFC, any kind of desktop interface you want. So you're going to be able to load OpenSUSE with, they have GNOME, XFCE, and KDE desktops, which light, heavy-ish, lighter and lightest kind of thing between the three. You'll be able to install Unity, which means they might actually be considering making this one of the releases in the future, which I'm not going to lie, it blows my mind. I put a post up today at doortodoorgeek.com. It was wow, comma, mind equals blown. Because everything everybody said and I heard and I read and I believed told me Unity is a trained puppy that has a leash around it that Mark from Canonical Ubuntu is holding around his hand, and he controls that puppy to the T on what to do, how to do it, everything. Which everyone said, and I thought too, no other distribution would give this a time of day if they do not have any say in what's going to happen with Unity. Why would anybody else use it? And they are. So maybe Unity is not as heavily handed controlled by Canonical as I'm led to believe. And there's other distributions want to give it a shot, give it a go. So who knows, in 3 years, we might have handfuls of distros where the default desktop interface is Unity. So just wanted to throw that news out there because I found this, to be honest, mind-blowing, like I said.
Well, perhaps when the SUSE developers get their hands on Unity, well, obviously they already have, but it can only do nothing but make the product better. You know, you've got another set of eyeballs looking at it. You've got a whole nother company philosophy working with it and using it. I see nothing but good to come out of this.
Well, if it was somebody else, I might have concerns. I'll say OpenSUSE people, they do a tremendously great job on fit and finish and polish and making things work great. They really do. So I feel like this is going to be nothing but good to Unity. Now, and they're going to, I'm sure, offer anything they change back to Canonical or Unity to put in their future builds. So that to me is really cool. Now, a couple more Unity things. I just wanted to throw them out there. On omgubuntu.co.uk, there's a link on how to install Unity 2D on Ubuntu 10.10.
Unity what?
2D. The default
2D.
is Unity 3D, and it's really not that 3D. But with Unity 2D, some of the features and some of the right-click options kind of thing are not available. But you can at least get a good idea of how you're expected to functionally use it. And it's not really super hard. You just go down, you add a PPA to your Linux Maverick 10.10 install, and away we go. You install it, and you're using it. So
and
if you're
what is a PPA now?
PPA is a personal package archive. I think I actually got that one right, Doc. It's like an extra repository in your package management system. List different repositories, different places where you can automatically download and install software. So you add a PPA, then through your Ubuntu Software Center, you can install Unity 2D, just like you're installing Firefox or anything else.
Okay, thanks.
So if you're on 10.10, you do not want to go to 11.04, you can give this a try. I feel fairly confident it's not going to cause issues or make your computer unbootable. If it's on this website, it's typically pretty safe. So I'm going to do it. If you want to play with it, anyone out there, just go ahead and try it. So in the future, you might be more comfortable when this transition happens. Next thing I wanted to talk about real quick was the one big huge gripe everybody has about Ubuntu Unity is customizability, tweakability, because in Linux, people love to tweak. They love to tweak anything and everything possible. So if you cannot tweak it, they hate it. The first one is really no super secret or even hard to find. It's at make use of, and there's a comp is config settings manager, which you've been able to use in Ubuntu for a long time to do a lot of fancy tweaks to your wobbly window effects and your close effects and your open effects and your minimize effects and your maximize effects and your drag effects, all kinds of stuff. Your desktop cube, the list goes on and on. If you install this compass config settings manager, you get a little extra option called Ubuntu Unity plugin. It doesn't give you a great amount of options, but it's easy. It's already a standard piece of software that's easily installed, and you can go and you can make at least some minor tweaks to it. That's okay. That doesn't satisfy even 2 or 3% of the people out there complaining about not being able to tweak Unity. With that said, once again, we go back to omgubuntu.co.uk. I'm sorry, they were really good these last 2 weeks on getting their links out there and getting their stories out there. This one is a tool called Confetti. I believe it's called Confetti. Confity. And it's Confetti lets you configure Ubuntu 11.04 Unity easily. Now this has many more options, from changing the icon size, when to hide the launcher, when not to hide the launcher, what's the dashboard size, the launch animation, more and more. If you insist on tweaking what Unity looks like, acts like, or behave, this is the tool that at least gets you in the doorway, in the same room. You know what I mean? It should mildly satisfy most of the people out there. Haven't had a chance to run this because, again, I have issues with running full Unity on my hardware right now. But again, I digress because I don't want to talk mean. Okay, this next one to talk about, only because I respect greatly anything Jonathan Nadeau. I always want to say Nadeau, so I always got to think.
NATO.
Oh! Jonathan, sorry, but talk to Chris Berry and he understands. He'll explain my issue here with names. But he did an interview. I just got the cast, I believe, yesterday off of Frostbite Media, frostbitemedia.org. Yes. He interviews the founder, the main developer guy behind a distribution called IQ Unix. Letters I, letter Q, UNIX, IQ Unix. One of the things Jonathan said, or I think the developer said, late in the podcast, again, blew my mind. Maybe it's because I'm getting old. My mind's getting blown too easily. But here's what they said. The normal Windows user does not like installing Ubuntu and having everything already installed for them. That's not how Windows works. You install Windows and you got to spend days sometimes going out, remembering, oh, I had this piece of software, finding it, downloading it, installing it, configuring it. And then it takes days sometimes to get it up how the users want it because there's so much stuff you have to install. In Ubuntu, they try to install everything from Office programs, video editors, sound editors. I mean, everything. BitTorrent clients, everything. IQ Unix, on the other hand, doesn't. 99.99% sure it's a Ubuntu backend, I think. But it's only the GNOME desktop, you ready? With gedit, which is kind of like Windows Notepad, Synaptic Package Manager, which I guess you could say is like adding new programs, and like one other program. It doesn't even come with a web browser installed in it. Because most time when Windows users start up their fresh install, the first thing they do is they go get Firefox or they go get Opera, or they go get Chrome or Chromium or whatever. So this, they said, and I kind of, in a wild way, agree with them, this is more custom to what the average power Windows user expects. To install an application and then install everything else you need and want. The thing I like about it is, if you do not like bloat, or you insist on having something as snappy as possible, this to me seems like a fantastic start to, happiness for you, because you start out with almost nothing. And then you install what you want via Synaptic Package Manager. If you want Firefox, you go into Synaptic Package Manager, you search for Firefox, you click install. No movie player. No, ain't no movie player. You want VLC? Open up Synaptic Package Manager, VLC, install. So you really end up with what you like. The other application, here you go. Coolness. This is coolness, Doc. We'll get into this on a future show. One of the applications installed is called Remaster Sys. Imagine, if you will, you were running Windows, and you could, from inside Windows, click a button, and then it would spit out an ISO file. And then you would burn that ISO file to a DVD or CD, whatever. You go to another computer, you boot to that, and you click install, and you have exactly the same computer, totally different hardware. Let me just say that. Totally different hardware. You can have the exact same desktop, icon layout, programs, configurations, bookmarks, desktop wallpapers, everything mirrored with a simple one-click application called Remaster Sys. That's the other application that comes installed by default. So once you get your desktop how you want it, it's super easy to back up to a installable disk that then you can take anywhere you want and install. And you have exactly what you had before. This to me is kind of genius. I'll say that. And I already downloaded the ISO.
Well, it sounds like a good base Linux OS for if you wanted to have a Linux bench machine, perhaps. You want to have something mean and lean. This might be a good candidate. Kind of like my bench machine has only on it, it's an XP install, and it only has the bare minimum that I'm going to need to as a computer tech bench machine. So I'm just making that comparison there.
Doc, we could be singing a duet right now, okay? Because I had the exact same thought. Right after, we're actually right in the middle of listening to this podcast, I thought, this could be pretty damn good for a bench computer. Because there ain't nothing on it that you don't need. There's no IRC clients. There's no stupid Sudoku game. There's none of that crap. It's just speed, efficiency to get you to your point. Now, I will say, I purchased the domain podnutz for a year, so I can't rename it right now. But when that domain is up, it might be called IQ podnutz or something like that. Because I do think this is a tremendously easy way to start a project that you want to do, whether it's you want to create a multimedia distribution or a graphics editing distribution or a game distribution. To me, this sounds like a good start for someone who does not want to actually create the base. So yeah, and Jonathan
NATO.
Maybe if I shake my fist when I say it, I'll remember it. Again, I love listening to his podcast because he's a real down-to-earth person who asks the right question at the right times in a tremendously friendly manner. If you like that, you need to check out his podcast. If you like people talking in wild voice inflections, don't listen to it. If you like goofy sound effects being played during the podcast, don't listen to it. Good job, Jonathan. The next thing I'm going to go over real quick, Doc, because I know we're going a little bit long. I'm going to say, even the things I don't mention, I'm still going to post in the notes. So people, if you're at all interested in the type of topics I talk about, check them out. I'll give you quick rundown at the bottom. The one thing I want to talk about real quick right before we end is, man, I picked some applications with some tremendously good names, Doc. Allurius. Allurius? Ailurus. Geez, I don't know where I come up with these names, Doc. What this is, I talked about Ubuntu Tweak a long time ago. And in Windows, didn't we have in Windows Doc Tweak UI, where it was an application where its only goal was to help you customize your Windows experience.
There's been many of those types of packages out. Yes.
Right, where it would do everything from disable the reboot now, nag screen on Windows Update, and icon size and everything else. Well, this is like that, only in my eyes, cool. I know, I'm biased. It has built-in a software package management type of tool where they don't have the 35,000 application library installable list that Ubuntu Software Center, Synaptic Package Manager, all that has. They have a critiqued one where they only try to talk about things they think people will want the most. So that's cool, okay? But some of the other things that this application does is, in one click, it can change your default terminal, console, command prompt, whatever you want to call it, because everybody calls it something different, to actually be color sensitive. So when you type out commands, they're going to come in colors. And then very quickly, you're going to realize when I type this, it didn't come in red. It's supposed to come in, oh, I mistyped it. It makes for much better visual comprehension of what's going on your screen. It can also launch tips of the day, where every time you log in, you just get a little notification window with, to me, I've found pretty interesting tips. It also has built-in what's called apt. Remember apt-get from the beginning of the show? It has one of them in there called apt-get space clean, which is like deleting the Windows update. Local folder, you just want to maximize the amount of free space on your computer kind of thing, or you're having an issue with downloading updates, you simply click this and it will clean out that whole cache. It does honestly a lot more than this. I don't have it installed on this computer right here, so I can't look at it. Super cool, super easy to use tool. That's the thing I loved about it. Really easy to use tool. I encourage anyone who just wants to see stuff you can do to tweak, because it also has tweaks in there, to change default color patterns, default system fonts, that kind of stuff. All in here, very easy to understand. Great tool text tips where you hover, where you take the mouse, you go over something and tips pop up. Written tremendously good. Very comprehensive, very easy to understand. This is a very, very, very powerful tool that I've never heard of before. And I want to just make sure people heard about it. And its logo looks like a raccoon or something. I don't know.
You can put it in the chat. I got the desktop presenter up.
Thanks, sir. I think it's like a raccoon or something. I don't know. But there is a official page, I think, that I never get to when I just Google search it. I'm going to do some more looking at this tool next week. I just want to talk about one or two little things that I'm forgetting to mention here. This is a very cool tool. Check it out for yourselves. I really like it a lot. I honestly can't speak highly enough about it. Okay. Next thing I want to talk about real quick, Linux PC in a browser. Wait for it. Linux PC in a browser. Yes. They've been able
Doc,
to...
you're muted.
Oh, sorry. How is this different from what we talked about last time when we could go online and get a full-blown Linux OS running through the browser? Is this somewhat the same thing?
Not at all. That was via a browser accessing some remote install of Ubuntu.
Okay.
OpenSUSE also has that kind of thing where you can remotely access a full-blown virtual machine of Linux. This is Linux in the browser using JavaScript. When you go to the page, first time you go there, even if you're on a really fast connection, it's going to take like 20 seconds to download because it's literally downloading files in the background that will launch Linux in your browser.
Okay. All right. I see the difference.
Now, of course, this is not going to be a fully functional desktop interface with this and that and all kinds of other stuff. No, this is actually, I'm going to say, running TinyCore, which I now think is wrong. But it's running a very small, I don't want to use the word minuscule or something like that, but it's using a very small, tight distribution of Linux. And it's all running in your browser locally on your computer via like JavaScript. I want to say it's using JavaScript.
So what is the real use for this, Dor?
Practice commands, typing commands. Did that sound believable, Doc?
Working
Maybe?
with Vim, perhaps?
Damn, Doc, I love you. Yes. Oh, Vim not found. VI. You can work with VI. You can work with VI in this. You can literally play around, toy with, learn without damaging your computer at all. If someone tells you to go, type a command someplace and you don't know what that command does, it's not going to hurt your computer in any shape, way, form, or anything. If you go to this site, let the JavaScript load, watch it go through the complete boot cycle, loading the RAM disk, loading all this kind of stuff. Watch it boot Linux, and it will automatically log in for you too. And then go ahead and type those commands. I just want to talk about this. This is the Gee Whiz thing, Doc. If you haven't noticed, I like doing the Gee Whiz things too.
Our weekly Gee Whiz.
Our weekly Gee Whiz. Yeah, Wilbur Bear said it right. I think the best use case for this, besides just saying to somebody, hey, look, I got Linux in my browser, is so you can actually do some kind of command typing practicing. Now, there's billions of websites out there that will tell you, teach you, help you figure out how to do some stuff in the command prompt. I learned by example. Perfect example. That sounds dumb. Perfect representation of that is a website called Command Line Foo, where they just randomly, and they also tweet their commands that can do anything. I mean, an ASCII countdown clock, an ASCII timer clock, play baseball on the terminal. You can literally type a set of commands and you'll be playing a game or anything in the command line. And they just basically have random-esque things you can do. Mm-hmm. Search your entire hard drive for GIF files greater than 3K, less than 5 meg, that contain an I in the name, and they were created within the last 36 hours. You copy the code, you put it in your terminal, you hit paste, and it works. I go there for a lot of reference material, I'll say. I go there, and if I see a command that I think I could use something like this maybe in the future, then I bookmark it or I mark it as my favorite. And this is just a great place, I think, to go toy with it, play with it. I'm going to use it for practice, just like Wilbur Bear says. There's more than a couple links. If by chance next week I'm short on data, I'm going to talk about them. But they're going to be in the notes. The real super quick is the 20 strongholds for Linux, an example of how pathetic the United States is when it comes to open source implementation in corporate and government. Cheat cheat sheet collection, tremendously broad spectrum of easily one-page download of cheat sheets for tips for Bash, HTML, Java, anything just about. It was so huge. An extreme 40 gigabit switch. And what do you think this switch is powered by, Doc?
Windows?
No. Linux.
Wow. Who would have thought it?
I know. I just think that's cool. That's another Jiba thing. Another stupid cool thing I think is the Great Linux World Map. I actually posted this in Linux Basics forums about a week ago. It's just a view of a pretend map of if Linux was a globe, what would this ocean be? What would this country be? And it's a mishmash to give newbies a better understanding of some of the relations between things. The last thing is 18 of the best free and up-and-coming games for Linux. It's 3 parts. They're all on linuxlinks.com. I found some of these games very intriguing, and other ones looks like remakes of Grand Theft Auto or something. If people say they want to hear about these enough, then shoot us an email, doorgeek@podnutz.com. Hit us off in the forums, mail@podnutz.com, and we'll be happy to talk about. I'll purposely put these in next week.
Do these games have the graphic quality of a Grand Theft Auto?
Not all, but the one that they said was like Grand Theft Auto looked exactly to me like Grand Theft Auto, Vice City, or the one in LA. Can't remember what it's called. San Antonio. San Antonio? Ain't San Antonio. San Andreas. I know I'm talking to myself. You'll have that. It's my birthday. I'm getting old. Very close. Very, very close to those kind of graphics. I'm done, Doc. I'm totally insane today.
Is this your first official senior moment that you're having right now?
Yeah, I guess so. Hey, it's worse, Doc. I could have accused you, or I could have asked you if you were doing drugs, and then you might have never talked to me again.
Who, me?
I don't know.
I'm a respected member of the community.
I would like to believe I am, but I don't think I'm, Doc.
Well, here we go with some awkward silence, because I honestly don't know how to reply to that.
I don't know. Did we have any emails? Because I do a very horrible job of keeping up on them.
We had some, but nothing that can't keep. And I say that not because of time, but because I really wanted to run them by you as to how valid they actually are in terms of questions. I didn't see anything that looked like a really good, solid question. There was one where Eric made some very good remarks, but I think that maybe that can keep till next week. Now, we are doing a show next week, right? You're not going out of town? Okay.
I might be going out of my mind, but I'm not going out of town. I do want to thank Dave for his links about Chromebook. There's a perfect example of a man that knows how to dig to the facts. He sent me some tremendously good, detailed information on the specific hardware that people are going to be releasing for Chromebooks. This was very good information. Seriously, I want to thank you, David. Very good link.
Yeah, we'll take anything that people want to send us. You know, if they think that it's worth mentioning on the show, please send it along to door-to-door-geek@podnutz.com. And we welcome input on this show. I mean, this is not something that is just driven by, two guys. We really work on and use the input that we get from you folks. So as Dean Martin used to say, keep those cards and letters coming in.
Exactly.
Well, I just dated myself, didn't I?
Could have been worse. You could have been quoting Daniel Boone.
I could have had a breakdown on camera like you did just a few minutes ago.
I know.
Well, folks, that's about going to wrap it up. This has been Linux for the Rest of Us, number 44. I'll talk to Steve after we go off camera and see if there's going to be a number 45. But if there will be a number 45, and I'm pretty sure there will, we're going to do it again this time next week. And we also make them available on RSS and available in any place fine podcasts could be obtained. You can watch them on Justin TV as well. And how's the Roku box project coming there, Mr. C?
It is. I have 2 weeks. I'm going to be pretty flat out on working on stuff, and that's on the list of things to do. I know you guys have heard me say that before. I hope to have video up by the end of these 2 weeks on Roku. Strong. So we'll see.
Well, I'm not trying to put pressure on you, but I thought while we were talking about the podcast and where people could get it, I thought I might bring that up. So, any last minute comments before we say goodnight?
Not from me. Dor?
Say goodnight, Gracie. Oh, no. Just I want to thank everybody for listening. Thank everybody for downloading. Thank everybody for the feedback. Thank everybody for joining the forums. Thank everybody who went to doordorgeek.com. Thank for everybody that follows me on twitter.com. And I just want to say anything you want to hear us talk about, don't hesitate. Shoot us an email. We aim to please.
We sure do, but sometimes our aim isn't too good, but we do try. Well, that's going to wrap it up for Linux for the rest of us. Again, this has been show 44, and we'll see you about this same time next week. So long, everybody.